torture.
And with us.
What's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker. This is WPwatercooler. We're talking about torture today on this show. Let's go around the room real quick and get everyone introduced. Let's go on the far left with Brian. Brian, tell us about yourself.
Yes, I'm the creator of the Event Calendar Newsletter plugin to allow people to subscribe to your calendars. I also lead organizer of WordCamp Hamilton, and just came from a networking event, so not only do I have a lower third, but I also have a name tag, in case I forget.
Lower third.
Lower third, whatever it is.
What about you, Chris?
Hi there, I'm Chris Lema, and I am a WordPress blogger over at chrislema.com. and I also am the CTO over at Crowd Favorite, and I run the North County San Diego WordPress Meetup.
Sweet.
Boy, does he.
Mr. Cosper, how about you?
Hey, I'm Jason Cosper. I work at WP Engine as the developer advocate.
Awesome. Thanks for being on. What about you, Jen?
Jen Miller. Hi, I'm Jen Miller. I'm owner of NeedSomeoneToBlog.com. We provide content services on WordPress for companies and individuals.
Sweet. What about you, Rebecca?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Gill, and I'm the founder of Web Savvy Marketing.
What about you, Russ?
Hi, my name is Russ, WordCamp Vegas, and I blog about literally random topics.
Perfect.
That's true.
Sarah, what say you?
I'm Sarah Weefald. I'm the production manager at Zeek Interactive, and I facilitate the OC WordPress Design Meetup the first Monday of every month.
Say, what Sarah are you?
Hey, I'm Say Reed, and I make WordPress, love WordPress, preach WordPress, teach WordPress at Say Reed Media on all the thingies. Woo-hoo.
Awesome. Steve, what about you?
I am Steve Zehngut. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress Meetup.
And I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at jasontucker.us. I blog over at WPmedia.pro, all about video stuff and audio stuff. So today's topic is, this is episode number 180. Isn't that crazy, folks? 180.
Wow.
Today's topic, we're going to be talking about reusing, renewing, recycling your WordPress content. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. The reason why this came up is that I've been working at a church where we have a lot of content that shows up on our site, and we end up finding people
Just shows up?
seeing that people we end up seeing people finding old content and thinking it's the content that they're supposed to be looking at, and we don't know if we're supposed to be deleting this content, redirecting the content, reusing the content, recycling the content. Right, exactly. So that's why I wanted to bring this up, because I thought, if I'm having this problem and supposedly I know what I'm doing, what are other people doing, and especially blogger types, what are they doing for this type of stuff, or old content that needs to be refreshed?
Well, so if you're familiar with the music industry, they just turn old music into, now that's what I call volume 54. You could do that. You could start with that.
Greatest hits?
Yeah. Greatest
Well, I mean,
hits
that's for repackaging content,
Sure.
which, I mean, is not necessarily. But, I mean, I feel like something I've seen a lot, like especially when you're talking about coding and WordPress and things that change frequently, I spend a lot of time Googling how to do things, because I'm still, I'm mainly in the production end of the WordPress situation these days. I don't do so much developing, and when I do try to find something, I spend a lot of time Googling, and I find a lot of articles that end up being outdated. But the nice people who wrote those articles add a little box at the top of the page saying, hey, this is old. The post is still there, so the information is still there, but it directs you to something that's more up to date. I thought that was an interesting way to handle it.
Sure. I also think that it does help, like, as WordPress is backwards compatible, I do think it helps saying, listen, here's what we're doing now, but here's how we used to do it. So if you're one of these people that likes to understand the progression of WordPress, I think those kind of articles do help when you're saying, here's the old way versus the new way, stuff like that.
So, Jason, what kind of content are they finding that they're not supposed to find?
Well, the type of content,
basically?
No. The type of content that they're finding is primarily old events that happen. So what they'll do is they'll write a blog post saying, "Hey, there's this event that's going to be happening next week. You should come to it." And then they'll see it. Yeah, exactly. So then they show up on the wrong weekend or whatever, just because of the way that the calendars are set up or the way that the dates in which they were placed. So yeah, we end up with people that just come to the wrong event or don't even come to the event because they don't know what's going on. The other thing is that they just find old content where they're thinking about going on a trip or something like that, and there'll be a post about that, and then they'll get all their stuff together and not even talk to anybody about it, and then they'll find out, oh, that's not even happening this year. It was actually a couple years back. So I did try the approach of what we were talking, I think Sarah was talking about earlier, with taking that content and writing some type of post or something on the top, just using like a plugin or whatever that checks the date, see if it's a year old or whatever, and then addresses it and tries to tell the person, hey, this hasn't been updated in a year. Maybe you should go look for new content. But the management here was just kind of like, that just seems like we're not doing our job. Like, we should be updating the content more often. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from, is like, how do I tell our content creators here, hey, you should go look at old content and maybe update it? And is there a place where you put some text in a post that has like a date or something like that?
Well, if only there was like a thing in WordPress that like had like, I don't know, a date at the top of a post. That would be so revolutionary.
That's a novel solution.
You're assuming that only posts are things that have dates. Actually, pages can have, you could write in, hey, here's the events that are going to be happening this year for that particular page, and they don't use posts. They're just writing a page with some content in it.
That should be updated.
Page content, though, is something that should be updated, because pages will retain their SEO juice and will retain their link authority even if you change the content for the most part. So pages should actually have their content actually updated, which is not the same thing as posts, which you'd write a new post and then you have to figure out what to do with the old post.
But when you have like 40 or 50 different pages that could all have this stuff, then what? Then what are they supposed to do, and how are they supposed to find this stuff?
Then aren't you running into? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
I agree with Say, even though she said SEO juice, but fundamentally.
I just like to
fundamentally, the answer is that you have to update, and that's not fun. And so I think one of the ways to help your content creators think that through is to put it through the filter of Google Analytics. So it's not the end-all, right? But there is an easy way for you to rank your content by the page view traffic, so that the content that is coming more, the content that is being visited more often probably should be refreshed more often, and the content that has only been visited like 3 times in the last year, yes, if one of those 3 people did pack and book a hotel for an event that no longer exists, that's on them, but you can't fix everyone, right? So
but I think as the content owner, we should be the ones that should be updating that content. But I want to enable my content creators, who are not technical people, to be able to go onto the site and find the thing that's old and then update it.
And that's where doing an audit of the content by how frequently it's looked at and comparing that to its date will help you do that, right? The easiest way to do it is simply order the content by the page view traffic, and then make sure that the top, pick your number, top 50, top 100, top 200 pages and posts are consistently updated, right? And then you have a long tail of stuff that may not be, but that's a function of how much content you're producing on the site anyway.
You can also, if you are creating a lot of stuff that has old content, old pages, using something like Simple 301 Redirect, where you're redirecting those pages to the new content, keeps that page rank or SEO juice intact, and we all love SEO juice. And then forwards it on, and so the information is correct. Because really what we're talking about with that is keeping your site relevant and keeping it, up to date for people so that it's useful. That's the goal. And the only reason you wouldn't get rid of that content is for something like SEO or for archival purposes. So if you're not actually, kind of putting a big banner on it that says this is archived, then you should just forward it on to the more relevant one. That's when we're talking about pages, not necessarily when we're talking about posts, because I think posts are different.
And Yoast has this built in, so you can actually, if you delete a post, it'll tell you, hey, you just deleted a post, we just detected it. Where do you want to redirect this thing to? Do you want to redirect it to this page, this post, this whatever, and you just give it the URL and it'll go and do the redirection.
And for stuff like events, I mean, that really should have a banner at the top saying this event has passed. I mean, that's something that I think makes sense, just to be like, hey, this is done, and that's something that the plugin should be able to do, right?
It's just saying that, like, hey, tickets are no longer on sale. You know, like the concert already happened. Here's some pictures. You know, something like that.
Right.
Guess
Yeah, that's another way to do it, is with adding stuff of the pictures or putting on a gallery or saying, like, oh, hey, this was great. Let's link over to the post where we talked about that stuff. You know, and that way people get the gist of it. You still retain the link, etc., etc.
But in most of your better events plugins, can't you set it so that past events don't show anymore?
Yeah, but the problem is that the content that we're writing isn't for, it's not using in the event plugin. It's actually just a blog post with a bunch of text, maybe a video, maybe a header graphic, whatever. So it's not tied into that in any way. Well, and our events we don't use any type of event calendars because of that. You end up with duplicate content and people are seeing stuff and new stuff.
His SEO is so strong that even when you hide them, he can still be found through the Google.
Exactly.
That is one of the problems. Yoast wrote an article on website maintenance and cleaning up old posts, which we can put into the show notes. But he has a lot of information there that helps folks with it. So if you were trying to figure this out and you're not Jason and his church and his events, but you're like a person with a regular site and going, what do I do with this and what do I do with the old post, right? There are some tools to it. I think with events and I think with pages that are not built by an event product but they're just event pages people have created, I think the best process is that the moment the event has completed, you have to train your staff to go back and update that page to say this event has concluded. And if they don't do it then, it's going to be a pain in the butt for them to go back and manage it later by looking up all the events that have happened in the past. There's no simple way to do that. So you just have to change your process so that you are closing the loop on those kinds of pages.
But adding on a gallery of photos, a recap of the event, links to things that happened to the event, that's good content development. That's good business. That's good for everybody, not just for making sure that someone's not showing up to an old event. So that's part of more of an overall, good marketing strategy.
This is an editorial issue, not a technology
WordCamp
issue.
Central actually has a thing where for the day of WordCamp, you can put the site into day of mode, and so it hides all your stuff that like happened Friday or your speaker sponsored dinner, stuff like that. I think a mode like that would be very useful, especially just by saying, hey, day of, don't show anything that we've mentioned in the past, or hide the things coming up in the future. That way it's just focusing on the events happening today. One of the things that actually really matters is with mortgage rates, because if you, seriously, so if you have a page that says today's rate is 2.5, but the market's at 4.6, you're kind of legally obligated to offer them that rate even though it doesn't exist. So I had to write a plugin that updated anywhere I used a rate, I had to use a shortcode to display today's current rate. And I think, Jason, what you're getting at is saying, even though you have this old post and it's not relevant, somebody could find it and hold you liable to something that you didn't mean to say this was fact,
Right. So I think we've talked about a lot about this part of it. So what about like the idea of like either reusing content or refreshing that content? Like what have you guys done with that? Because WPwatercooler has been trying to do this for a while, and I keep getting made fun of every time I talk about old posts.
You are actually the king of this, and you are the person who I've learned this from the most, because your freaking Twitter will tweet articles from WP Media Pro. And I will click it because I'm like, oh, Jason wrote an article, cool, I'm going to read it. And then I'm like, oh, crap, I read this, and it was like 2 years ago. So you get me. I know you use that plugin, revive old posts or whatever, or tweet old posts. You can put it in the show notes which one it is. But you literally get me, like, every time. And I am like, I read that. you bastard. Basically, this is what I
You
think.
just put Rickroll on the content. That's what you need to do.
Basically, but I feel kind of like a noob every time I click that because I know it and whatnot. But it still works. So I think that's one of the greatest uses of that. What is that plugin, Jason, that you use?
Revival posts. And they have a pro version of it too that does other stuff. It'll tie into all sorts of different parts of the website.
So it like basically retweets stuff that has been around for a while. You set the time, amount of time of oldness.
Exactly.
And you can deselect posts that you don't want to have them retweeted or
You can exclude you can exclude by tags. You can exclude by categories. All sorts of fun stuff. But yeah, it's awesome. I love that. I love that plugin.
I hear you laughing every time I click that. You're like, oh.
Actually, it sounds like this.
Exactly like that, yes.
Nice. A lot of things people have been writing about is content upgrades. So actually going back to your old content and adding something specific to that post, like a PDF download of shortcut, here's how you do this, summary, one page. So just going back to your old content, plus using it as kind of a magnet to attract people to your mailing list.
Yeah, WP Beginner is like the king of that. They go out and re-update their content all the time, don't they, Steve? Or don't they, Chris?
Yeah,
Steve,
yeah.
Chris.
They have staff that will go back and keep all their posts updated, partially because they get a massive quantity of people who complain about a post when it's even remotely old. And by the way, right, all these posts are for free, but still, they're like, that's not the latest version. That screenshot's old. So
that's customer expectations right there, because they rank on the Google for everything. So I think if you're going to rank at that level, you keep your stuff updated. Because that's the expectation that you're setting. Yep.
One of the lessons I learned from Syed is to, and I think Carrie Dils does this as well, is the updated on. So on a lot of sites I work on, we'll shift from displaying inside of the template, instead of showing the created on or the origination date, we'll put the last updated date. And Google's really good about picking up the date on the page, so it picks up that date, which means when you see it in a Google list of search results, you see a more recent date rather than the old dates. Because sometimes people just select a different post because the thing they're seeing in the search results says 2012, and they're like, nah. And it may not have changed, right? But just going in there and touching it up and saying this works up until the latest version of WordPress or whatever, just doing a little bit of tweak can ensure that you have the latest date, and then that Google, when it displays it, if you have enough, I was going to say, is there...
Yeah, turns out there's no other word for that.
Rebecca Gill, what is the phrase I would use if I didn't want to use the juice word?
I love that you're asking Rebecca.
No, it's link juice that I absolutely hate. I hate that phrase because everybody doesn't know
I just
what
want
to
to
do
say
most of the time.
at the SMX Expo conference, where you're hearing from Google, from the actual people, everyone said that, so I have no shame anymore.
My
I used to be like,
hear somebody say it.
Yeah, it's a real thing. No one has a term for it. Everyone ends up with juice. So
yeah,
when you look at actually when you look at news something like a TMZ, they actually use that update feature heavily, especially with breaking stories when things are happening, and that updated, having that thing that says updated, no longer, school's no longer locked down, or the area's clear or whatever. Having that update is very helpful by letting people know here's what's actually going on, instead of ranking very high for something that happened a couple hours ago.
I just want to say, we now know where Russ gets his news.
Those updates
They
don't
have a
stop
lot
commenters.
of cool products on that site that it's very interesting to watch how they keep evolving that site. And those guys outrank a lot of news divisions who are credited.
Yes, they do.
For a whole multitude of societal reasons we shall not get into right now.
Siri, you gonna say something?
Oh, I was going to say that even on major sites like Gawker, TMZ, New York Times, Guardian, whatever you choose, they all do that, but it doesn't seem to stop any of the commenters from just skipping right to the bottom and saying hey, this is out of date.
Right.
No one can stop the commenters. There's a plugin called Content Update Notification that requires an opt-in, obviously, from the the person to get notified, but there is a plugin that does that. So it'll notify you if you've updated something or added new content. And of course, Jetpack can notify if there's new content with subscription. It's not the same thing as reusing old content, but it is talking about what we were also talking about, which was reusing your content in different ways. So sending your content to someone's email inbox through RSS or through Mailchimp or something like that is also another way of reusing your content without having to rewrite it again. It's not recycling, but it's reusing, which technically is the first one that we're supposed to use.
I love repurposing content. I took my old blog posts and converted them into a course, and then added to the course, and then took new course topics and put them out to blog posts.
Yeah, that's genius, because LearnDash LearnDash is a great plugin for that, but there's a lot of really great plugins that are easy to use, and doing that, taking old stuff, updating it, and putting it into that is genius. Just why Rebecca's a genius.
Plus, I charge for it. I charge for the course, so I mean, it was a win-win.
Woo! Yay!
Well,
all you know how to do.
Other...
Jason, I think you could also solve a problem by using some kind of pop-up plugin that allows you to specifically show a pop-up on a specific page. That way you could say, hey, you're checking out this event, but there's a pop-up that says there's a new one happening 2 weeks from now. Not, this isn't a live post or something. I think you could even use a pop-up. As much as I hate pop-ups, I think it could be effective in some small way.
Pop-ups are great.
The only problem is
so with the link juice.
The only problem with all of this is that we don't just have one event that happens. It's not like this place is just like there's just one event that happens and that's it. We'll have like
on Sundays,
Sunday.
right? Isn't that?
Yeah. I was saying it's every Sunday. It's right on there.
No, it's not every Sunday. It's like every day of the week there's an event that's happening. You have somebody who's showing up because they have like a car expo type thing, somebody who's a motorcycle enthusiast thing, somebody who does bike riding stuff. There's all these different events that are happening, and we're kind of the gatekeepers of all of that content, getting out to the people that attend here. So yeah, it's a really interesting
Cosper, did you have something you wanted to say?
I was going to say, I normally hate pop-ups, but I think Russ is onto something where this is a perfect way to use your own old content to your advantage, which is you take a pop-up, you say, hey, this event is over, subscribe to get the latest events. So you drive people to subscribe to get your latest events rather than, and I'm sure with just a little work, that might be a lot easier than trying to have your editorial team go in after the fact and add stuff. It might be something where you can kind of let your team sleep at the wheel at that point on those things.
Opt-in Monster from the Syed, I'm just going to call him the Syed from now on, does that, and also they allow you to put in old links in, like if you like this content, maybe you'll like this content, which can also be a way to reuse or at least re-traffic old stuff that's more evergreen. Then obviously you should not be directing them to
Now can we solve one more problem today, and that is how do we get people who just aren't writing a lot on like Zengi.com to write
That's his new name?
How do we do that so that they write enough to actually have old posts, right? Because we don't have an old post problem if it's only 3 posts on the site, right?
There isn't a plugin for that, Chris. I've looked.
There's no plugin.
I don't even think Crowd Favorite offers a plugin for that, although untapped market, I'm just going to put that out there.
The water cooler just became a roast.
The water cooler is always a roast.
So Steve, there's a website called Fiverr.com. You could throw $5 at it and somebody will write.
Or you can go to Jen Miller at needsomeonetoblog.com.
Booyah!
Yeah. Hey Jen, I would like to hire you for my friend Zengi's website.
I may have already hired her in the past.
Yeah, exactly. I think you hired someone else though now.
Yeah, no, I'd like to hire you, but I'd like to define the topics. If you can work that through, that would be
Jen, whatever he offers you, I will outbid it.
This is getting fun. Come on, folks.
Yep.
So wait, so we talked about reusing and we talked about recycling. What's the other one?
Renewing.
Reducing?
Renewing.
Reduce, yeah.
Reducing.
Steve, how do
Which
you
is we covered with Steve, so that's good. So in terms of renewing, yeah, then it's just really like the updates. Is there a plugin? I don't know of one that will automatically put that little label box on top of a plugin that's been updated. It says, note, this content has been updated.
Or post.
Rebecca, Jen, I'm looking at you.
I don't think so. What we do for our clients who have issues with either event posts or in real estate, you know, they have a listing that they listed and then it's sold. We change the title without changing the URL, and then that way it shows as a past event or a you know, a sold listing. So that's one other way to do it. And then if they come to the URL, they see the title, hopefully.
For the devs in our audience, we will be having a plugin-a-palooza at WordCamp Orange County. So you can develop this plugin. It sounds like a great idea for plugin-a-palooza.
I think it's
It does, because it'd be somewhat simple. And
I think it's just a checkbox, and it says if checked, add already sold above the title.
Leave it for plugin-palooza.
Let the devs at plugin-a-palooza solve this. Russ, if you'd like to plugin-a-palooza.
Yeah, if you sign up for WordCamp Orange County's Plugin Palooza and you solve that problem, I'm pretty sure the MC will spend extra attention talking about it.
I wonder who that MC might be.
I'm just saying. I think
I have to get Rev Run.
It'll be like this awesome double plug that Chris really likes. Wait.
And the deadline for your pitches is extended to April 1st.
Yes.
So
Nice.
you can keep pitching.
Okay.
Keep pitching that link juice. That's good stuff right there. I do have a question actually about crowd favorite and Mailchimp. Yeah, look at the time. What's up with the Mailchimp plugin for crowd favorite? Because one of my favorite ways for my clients to reuse their content is to take their blog posts and use them as newsletters, you know, once a month, whatever, or however often they need to. Take that content, you know, and then of course link back to the site. But crowd favorite used to make a really great plugin for Mailchimp. Is that still a thing that's happening, Chris? Because I've seen.
Nope.
Like, yeah, you're done with that.
No, Mailchimp took it back over. I don't know all of their plans, but
no one does. It turns out. No.
But it's not for us to define their plans. So we will let them define their plans going forward. But yeah, crowd favorite's not involved in that plugin anymore. Or there were 2 or 3 that were related to Mailchimp. That doesn't mean you can't do it. So you can very easily go to Mailchimp and create an RSS newsletter and then point it back to your blog's RSS. And it turns out I wrote an article about it and created a video on YouTube about doing that. So you can easily.
That's that double plug I was talking about.
God, stop saying that.
What? I'm talking about like plugs for stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, look at the time.
If we're gonna end with a plug, I will plug Rebecca Gill's new course on SEO. If you haven't checked it out yet, you're gonna want to do it.
There's lots of juice.
There's a lot of stuff to know, and I every time I talk with Rebecca, I find out that most of what I'm doing is incorrect, but she says it in such a nice way and a lovely way that you don't feel bad. You just feel encouraged to try more. So. By all means, check that out. And by all means, look at your content and figure out ways to keep it updated so that you're helping out the world out there.
Help out the world. You just like took that to like the next level.
Yeah.
I think Google.
It's your responsibility as a website manager to improve the world.
Help the whole internet.
With updated content.
Well, folks, that's about it.
That was fun.
That was awesome, guys. I really appreciate that we were able to kind of go through and talk about some of the stuff and some of these real-world type issues that we have and kind of discuss it. So make sure you go to our website at WPwatercooler.com and click on the links there to subscribe. If you like this content, hit the little thumbs up button and like it. And if you are watching this anywhere else, please leave a comment. We'd love to see the comments and be able to interact with you in that way. Folks, thank you all for being on the show. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.